Next, we'll invite Chair Gravitt to present the Standard and Assessment Committee report.
Okay, here I am. Almost good evening, everyone. This is the Standards and Assessment Committee report, and we're going to start with 18.3, which is the CTE course standards approval. Those of you, well, you all should know this, but especially those of you on standards and assessment before know that the CTE programs are approved annually according to board rule. And so the motion before the board is that the committee moves that the board approve the CTE course standards draft 1.
Okay, the motion before the board is that the board approve the CTE course standards draft 1. Discussion to the motion. Seeing none, please vote. The voting is complete and the motion passes unanimously. Please continue.
Okay, the next item is 18.4 R277625 mental health screener program. And this is the result of so much work by staff and committee members. And after some feedback from public comment from the Disability Law Center regarding data sharing and feedback from DUSAMA about, definitions with mental health screener, and mental health services, we have 2 motions for the board. The first one is this. The committee moves that the board approve R277625 mental health screener program draft 3 as amended on second and final reading.
Okay, the motion before the board is that the board approve R277-625 mental health screener program draft 3 as amended on second and final reading. Discussion to the motion.
Chair Huntsman, before we start, this is Lorraine. Could I just ask, on the motion, should it be draft 3 as amended or just draft 3?
Oh, I'm sorry, it should be as amended. Sorry, Lorraine.
Has draft 3 been amended? Is there a draft 4 then?
Well, I have to look back. It seems like the amendment was.
If it was just a draft 2, it should just be draft 3. I think that may have been a.
Oh, you know what? Just looking at my notes from last month, it was draft 2 as amended, so it is draft 3.
Okay, let me restate the motion. Okay. The motion before the board is that the board approve R277-625 mental health screening program draft 3 on second and final reading. Discussion to the motion. Board Member Earl.
Yeah, I just want to mention that all the individuals that worked on this has been an extensive project, and that from where we started to where we are right now, and not only the data privacy, but also the effectiveness of these tools has been greatly enhanced, and the information that's available for the public, for educators, as well as for parents is once again greatly enhanced. I won't be voting for this. I think philosophically, I think we should be going in a different direction. I know there's needs in our schools, and we have a needs of counselors, but the screening of all children for these behaviors, I think we could be increasing instead of decreasing what we're trying to prohibit here. And so I'm just explaining my vote.
Okay, I'm not seeing any further comments. The motion before the board is that the board approve R277-625 mental health screening program draft 3 on second and final reading. Board members, please vote. Okay, the motion passes. The yes votes are Member Huntsman, Member Gravitt.
You skipped me.
What's that?
Oh, sorry. I just didn't. I took my vote down and too fast. So sorry.
Okay. The yes votes are Member Huntsman, Member Gravitt, Member Lear, Member Hanson, Member Thorpe, Member Belknap, Vice Chair Cummins, Member Cannon, Member Davis, Member Newell, Member Haynes, Member Marsh. And the no votes are Member Bolter, Member Nielsen, Member Earl. So the motion passes. Please continue. Did you get that, Lorraine?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you. Please continue.
Okay, we're
Sure.
still on that same item. There's a second motion for the board, and that is the committee moves that the board approve the mental health screening tools list, draft 4.
Okay, the motion before the board is that the board approve the mental health screening tools list, draft 4. Discussion to the motion. Seeing none, board members, please vote. The voting is complete and the motion passes unanimously. Please continue.
Okay, next item is 18.5, the annual core standards trigger rubric data review. The motion for the board is the committee moves that the board approve, keeping in place the current timelines for core standards without changes, given the revision rubric did not yield any need for queuing a revision out of cycle.
Okay, the motion before the board is that the board approve keeping in place the current timeline for course standards without changes given the revision rubric did not yield any need for queuing a revision out of cycle. Discussion to the motion. Seeing none, board members, please vote. Board member Gravitt. The voting is complete and the motion passes unanimously. Please continue.
You're supposed to read my mind. Okay, next item is 18.6, the supplemental standards. This one was just kind of fun to look at, looking at standards like strength and conditioning, dance, recreation, yoga. The motion for the board is the committee moves that the board approve the supplemental course standards for yoga, strength and conditioning, dance, and outdoor recreation as amended.
Okay, the motion before the board is that the board approve the supplemental course standards for yoga, strength and conditioning, dance, and outdoor recreation as amended. Discussion to the motion. Board member Lear.
I'm trying to avoid extraneous comments because I know we're moving quickly, but I was just saying to my husband yesterday, thank you to Mrs. Atavis, who was my PE teacher in 9th grade and never let us not dress for PE, which was what happened in those days, and put me in the habit of exercising regularly. And as a young woman in the 1960s, that was not as common. So I really, really appreciate that our core standards include PE, and I'm just grateful to expand it in any conscious way we can. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, board member Lear. I thought when you raised your hand, you were going to ask for staff to give a demonstration on yoga or dance, but
good idea, though.
Okay. I'm not seeing any other discussion on this item. So the motion before the board is that the board approve the supplemental course standards for yoga, strength and conditioning, dance, and outdoor recreation as amended. Board members, at this time, please vote. The voting is complete and the motion passes unanimously. Please continue.
Okay. Next item is 18.7, the future of accreditation in Utah, and talking about putting in a lot of work with something. Committee members and staff spent a lot of time, thought through this. We had to make some important decisions about who becomes the accrediting body, what kind of approach you use. And I can assure you that we really discussed these things and led to, I think, a thoughtful decision. So motion for the board is the committee moves that the board keep in place the current accreditation process, leaving the system approach up to the LEA with the assurance that the external accreditor will work closely with the state of Utah for more goal and data alignment.
Okay, the motion before the board is that the board keep in place the current accreditation process, leaving the system approach up to the LEA with the assurance that the external accreditor, I like how she said, how Chair Gravitt said it, will work closely with the state of Utah for more goal and data alignment. Discussion to the motion, Member Belknap.
Yes, I appreciate the fact that we had a sidebar meeting on this, because I have a lot of questions about accreditation. And I still would like to ask that we get a list of schools in the state of Utah that have been accredited. And I know the term isn't provisionally any longer. Do you remember what it is, Jenny? That continue to be accredited provisionally for year after year after year, while other schools are working to make sure their accreditation is solid. And it kind of makes it that accreditation doesn't matter. It weakens the accreditation in the state of Utah.
Okay. Board Member Davis.
Yeah, I hear what Board Member Belknap is saying. I had a similar question as to the teeth, I guess, so to speak. And Jennifer Thronson and I had an interesting conversation with some folks from Virginia, and they do kind of a leveled accreditation. I also think that the advisory committee on this, you know, they were given the option, do we get rid of accreditation? And I thought they were going to say, heck yeah, we're done with that. It's so hard and such a pain. And I was really surprised they didn't. They, by and large, all of them, they said, this is a great opportunity for someone to come in and look at what we're doing, and for us to be very, very self-reflective and combine those and move forward. And look at, I think there are some pros and cons to both methods, but they were proposing that we move to an in-house model. The standards committee chose to stay with an external model. I just think that this could resurface again for more conversations about process and what it's really going to look like long-term. And I agree with, and I'll go ahead and vote for this today, but I agree with Board Member Belknap that I think there may be opportunity to revisit this and determine how we really want this to roll out long-term. Thanks.
Board Member Earl.
Yes, I think more than not going with the systems approaches, we are allowing districts to decide that. So I think it still allows for that to take place. If you're talking systems as in the state overseeing all, I think that the state still has that say, but we are leaving it up to more flexibility there, which does not prohibit the systems approach. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Board Member Hanson.
Just part of our discussion that I thought was important. At this point, we really couldn't make a financial case to bring this in-house and do it at USBE. And one of the things that I thought was important was right now, with the disruption that we're all going through, we thought it was the wrong time, or I thought it was the wrong time to try to take on another set of tasks. And I definitely think that this is something that we can refine and look at down the road. It may make sense to do something different and to bring some of this in-house at USB in the future.
Okay, thank you, Board Member Hanson. Board Member Gravitt.
Yeah, and I just want to add, thank you, committee, for stepping in and saying some of those things, and others. I have to say that I had to be convinced a little bit because, you know, I've been through the accreditation process. I've been on teams But the thing that kind of sold me is that we're having it have an assurance that whoever our external accreditor is, they'll work closely with our goals, with our data alignment, and with the state of Utah, so it is more meaningful. And so I think the committee really came together to combine those ideas, and we did discuss all of these things, and that's why it took us so long to finally get to it. But I just appreciate all the thoughtful comments and opinions and perspectives and work to bring this together.
Board Member Hanson, your hand's still raised. Did you have something additional or? Oh, thank you. Okay, I'm not seeing any other comments. The motion before the board is that the board keep in place the current accreditation process, leaving the system approach up to the LEA with the assurance that the external accreditor will work closely with the state of Utah for more goal and data alignment. That's a motion before the board. Board members, please vote. The voting is complete and the motion passes unanimously. Please continue.
Okay, our last actionable item is 18.8 R277929, the Purple Star School Program. This is a new rule, and it affects military impacted students. And the motion before the board is the committee moves that the board approve R277-929 Purple Star School Program Draft 1 on second and final reading.
Okay, the motion before the board is that the board approve R277-629 Purple Star School Program Draft 1 on second and final reading. Discussion to the motion? Seeing none, board members, please vote. Board Member Davis, are you still with us? Thank you. The voting is complete and the motion passes unanimously. Please continue.
That continues our report, but I can't leave without telling my committee, thank you, and staff, thank you. And I was thinking, you know, when you go last, you have to steal other people's metaphors. And Carol, the metaphor of the backup singers is great, because I was thinking if you have a bunch of great backup singers, they can disguise, or they can kind of help the main singer, you know, look good. So I don't think you'll find a more diverse committee, but a committee that really respects each other and works for the good of all. So thank you so much. We had long meetings this year, but it was certainly my privilege to kind of be chair of that committee. So thank you.
And thank you. And the way I view the way that I see backup singers, their job is to support and complement the work of the lead. And so I agree with you, and all of our committees, we have a good group there. And we appreciate your service, Chair Gravitt.
Thank you.
Chair Huntsman,
Yes.
Board Member Cannon, I just would like to tip my hat to Chair Gravitt, because we did not have a Standards and Assessment Committee that did not begin with her sharing with us some kind of wonderful literary poetry. And it was a wonderful way to start our meetings, and it enriched all of us. And she was just one of a kind, and we loved having her as our chair. We'll miss her.
So
We still have tomorrow, so.
we'll have to see if that tradition continues. Thank you very much. Okay.